Timothy Mabry, candidate for Lieutenant Governor. Incredible hour that we have with this young man. Very bright, very intelligent. This is an incredible hour. I appreciate your time. One of the things that we discussed in the room up here, Timothy told us about the fact that the state of Texas has its own military department. What does that mean, we have a military department?
Yes, sir. So the Texas Military Department consists of, as everybody knows, the National Guard, the Air National Guard, and then the little-known Texas State Guard. The Texas State Guard is its own militia form, but it's not well-funded and not well-known about. Because when the Texas State Guard gets called by the governor to activate, they just show up in a nice, pretty uniform and say, "Hi, we're here to help." But they're acting in the role of almost as a bystander in a military uniform.
Okay, real quick, is the Texas National Guard, it's a federal, no, the federal government can federalize the Texas National Guard. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
But they're actually a state unit, correct?
The Texas State Guard is controlled by the governor. The State Guard is a direct extension of the governor's office, and it acts independently from the federal. As you said, the National Guard can be used by the federal government to go to different disasters. The State Guard acts as the Texas militia, but that's all I saw on paper.
Okay, so what's the Texas Military Department then?
So the Texas Military Department is the National Guard, the Texas State Guard, and the Air National Guard. So when you hear national, that's attached to the Army.
So is it different than, for example, other states, the Ohio National Guard, other states' National Guards?
So the National Guards are all the same. It's controlled by the Department of the Army. So it's because they still go to the same training as the Army. They go to the Army boot camp.
Yeah.
But the Texas National Guard is something that Texas does. They have their own internal program that they train you for. But the training for this Texas State Guard isn't...
Okay, I'm sorry, you're confused me. There's a State Guard, there's a National Guard.
Correct.
Please, break it down for the state of Texas again. What are the military units?
So the National Guard...
The Texas
National Guard is an arm of the Army. It's like, hey, this is a Texas version of the Army.
And it reports to the governor?
And it can, but it primarily can report to the federal.
Okay, it reports to the Department of Army.
Yes, that's how their training is.
That's
linked.
That's the Texas National Guard reports to the Department of Army. Next.
The Texas Air National Guard, same thing as the National Guard. Now, the
Texas Air National Guard also reports to the United States military.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And then the Texas State Guard, that is Texas alone, and that one reports directly and only to the governor of Texas, nobody else.
Can the United States president ever nationalize that group, the Texas State Guard?
No. They can nationalize the National Guard, but not the Texas State Guard.
What is the purpose of the Texas State Guard?
The Texas State Guard was initially for Texas defense. That is acting as our own militia to do what the best interest of the state.
How big is it? How many members?
It's not that many, and it fluctuates rapidly. I mean, there's less than 2,000 people in the Texas State Guard, and they're not very well trained. They're not well equipped. Every member of the Texas State Guard has to buy their own equipment. Most of them have to pay for their own fuel and transportation. They might be able to get reimbursed if activated, but it's primarily on their own. And the Texas Military Department, they're decreasing the funding again.
And this is a volunteer organization.
It's a volunteer organization. Now, if you get called up to like active duty, so in the disaster zones, they got called up and they were getting paid kind of what the Army does, but it gets out of the Texas budget.
What is the name of the person who... Oh, the governor is the head of that military department.
Correct.
Is there a military official? What's the highest ranking military official in the Texas State Guard?
On that one, I do not know the top of my head.
Why are you bringing this up as a pertinent issue for discussion?
I'm bringing this up because it's an arm of Texas that, one, we don't know about. Most Texans don't know that we have a state guard. But then the other part is I was talking to multiple states guardsmen recently. And when we were having the border crisis a few years ago, these states guardsmen were activated by the governor. And when they showed up, they weren't given equipment. They were just in their uniform, standing on the edge of the border.
So you're saying that this, but I mean, probably at the state level, they think we don't need this. We have a massive United States military. Why do we need it?
It's good to have something just in case. One, we can still protect our own interests, because if it's federalized, we have to go through federal channels. But then the other side is if you're having a group that you're calling a state guard, the Texas State Guard, and is acting in a military type role, wouldn't you want them to be protected?
Yeah, they need to be formidable, is what you're saying.
They need to be formidable, and they're not.
They're I don't want to say any comments, but they're not trained. They're not equipped. It's very haphazard.
They do have some training, but when you're talking with the individuals, say most of the time they have to pay for their own training. They don't get reimbursed for it very well. And then when they do get deployed, like to the border, they didn't have guns. They didn't have body armor. They just had their uniform and they were just standing there. So when
you can't take them serious in that regard.
Exactly. So when you have law enforcement, you have National Guard armed, and then you have somebody who looks like a National Guardsman without anything, they're sitting ducks.
Well, what would you, if you're the governor, how much money would you dedicate to this, and what would be your intended outcome? What do you want this group to look like?
So this group, my view, it needs to be a full-on fighting force that's capable. Because if you're going to call it a state guard and that they're going to be able to defend Texans.
Yeah, because it's just a title right now.
Exactly.
And we walk around, pound our chests. We're Texas. We're the only ones with our own national military, or statewide military, and we really don't have one. It's not credible. Is that that's kind of what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Is to actually give them teeth to get them the funding that they need to be formidable and the right training. Because if you're touting it as, hey, this is our own military, this is our own great force, it looks good on paper and from the front. But when you actually talk to the members of this group, they're going to tell you otherwise.
Well, I mean, what would the numbers you want to see in it? What would be the enrollment? Would 10,000 members? What are you thinking?
I think we at least need 5,000 to 10,000 people and actually get them trained often.
And they would be weekend warriors. They'd be working their full-time jobs. They would be paid for part-time employment.
Correct. And then even have some full-time just in case something pops off. Hey, you can get there quick. But also to own our own type of equipment. When I say own type, I mean our own aircraft, our own type, our own Navy. I want to be able to expand that to where, hey, we have our own Texas State Air Wing Navy, and to actually get them the proper equipment that's needed. Because if something ever happens, we want to be able to defend ourselves, but to be able to move quicker. And that's just our mentality of Texas and this U.S. We were formed on militias. We were formed on citizens pushing back against the government. That's how we were formed.
We've obviously learned in these past decade plus that a check and balance system is essential to life, or if not, we're just dominated by a one world government.